Dr. Dhruv Grewal is the Toyota Chair in E-Commerce and Electronic Business and Professor of Marketing for Babson College. A former program co-chair for the Academy, he currently serves as a Distinguished Fellow and a member of the Editorial Review Board.
Dhruv, we would like to welcome you today. Thank you for joining us. And our first question is, what spurred your interest in the field of marketing?
Thank you, OC, for inviting me to be part of this forum. As I reflect back on my career, and this would be around '84 when I came to the US to study and do an MBA, I found marketing to be a really exciting and dynamic area. Having done a bachelor's in commerce from India, I was well versed with management and accounting and economics and statistics. So a lot of those topics seemed similar, but marketing was something relatively new. And I had had some exposure in India in terms of marketing, as my dad was a photojournalist and a lot of his friends were in advertising, and I'd always found the creative elements of marketing fascinating. So I actually remember I had bought a couple of books even in India about marketing and read them before showing up in the US to do my MBA. And the faculty, the initial faculty who taught the first few classes were really excellent and caught my interest. And that's probably the start of thinking of marketing, and then they recruited me in the process as I was finishing my MBA to stay on and do a PhD, and it just seemed like a natural progression for me.
Thanks, and what are you most proud of in terms of your career accomplishments?
That's a tough question. There are a number of things that I'm probably proud of. Probably most proud are a number of different organizations have recognized me for teaching. So I feel deeply committed to teaching because I feel like I really can shape these young kids' lives in many ways and get them excited about marketing like I got excited about marketing. I was really thrilled when my first couple of books came out. I was like, I can't believe it. This book after so many years is actually a book. I was really proud of that. And naturally the first few journal publications was such a kick to get them. And my first journal was a JAMS in 1988. And it was a paper I had worked in an MBA class, and to see it actually with further work get into a journal got me thinking this academic process is pretty interesting and I think I can do it.
And looking at your entire career, what do you think are the things that made you most successful?
I mean, I would say two or three main things. One would be my family. My family has always been very supportive of me, and my wife has edited a vast majority of work. I remember when I met her in grad school, my dissertation advisor said, "Finally, your writing makes sense. So I can pass your chapters through now." So that was important. I feel like at Virginia Tech I had great mentors, and I got well trained in conceptual thinking, methodological areas, as well as really focusing on interesting substantive areas and trying to do it right and being persistent in it. And so I think those mentors played a strong role, and what was great is most of them have still stayed mentors for me. I still chat with my dissertation advisor every couple of weeks. I give him a call and we catch up, and he still reads some of my papers. So I feel like that's been a real plus. And then I've found I'm a pretty social person, so I go to numerous conferences, and in the conferences I've made a lot of friends who have sort of helped me in throughout my career and given me advice, or jointly collaborated on projects, and it just made it a very enriching and fun process, because every year is different, and that just allows one to stay current and motivated to keep doing hard work day in and day out. But because the work is slightly different every day, it makes it possible.
I know that you mentioned that you've remained socially active and networking was very important to your career. Does that link to the Academy of Marketing Science and your participation and experiences that you've been involved with the Academy?
The Academy of Marketing Science was very important for me. Part of my first journal, as I mentioned, was 88 Jams, and I joined Miami in fall of '89, and Harold Berkman was there, and we got to interact a lot. Also in fall of '89, Bill Darden put me on the review board, so here I was an assistant professor out for maybe less than 1 month, and I got to be on the review board, and that got me exposed to reviewing. I also, very early in my career, started doing track chairs for the AMS, and then chaired the conference. I think it may have been 92, 93, somewhere in that time frame. We did it, I think, at maybe the Biltmore, and every time the conference used to be in Miami, I would co-chair the local arrangements, and then I also served in AMS officers, and I've been on the review board off and on for at least 15 plus years, I would expect. So I think it's been a very important source of people to network with, ideas to disseminate. I've enjoyed interfacing with the various editors over the years, and I've done a special issue of Jams with Parshuraman on services, which was very well received. So I feel AMS has played a very large role in my career from day one till today.
Well, based on all of your experience and your success in the field of marketing, are there areas that you feel need additional research or could be a guidepost for the future research?
I think there are a number of areas that we need more research on. I'll pick a few. One of my passions is retailing, and in the retailing arena, people have focused on some behavioral issues in retailing, but the more managerial aspects of how retailers actually manage stores and locate stores, etc., sort of has gone out of fashion, but it's a really important area that needs to be explored. Understanding how they can enhance their profitability, understanding how retailers are starting to use social media to get there, especially since so many retailers are going online, and these new online models have social media built in. I think there's a lot of promise in that area. There's a lot of promise in behavioral pricing. If you look at any Sunday flyer, it's filled with hundreds of ads with hundreds of prices, and these prices are discounted in various fashions, presented in various colors. They're on the left side of a page, right side of a page, different fonts. So it seems like they've all been made by design people, as opposed to knowing there's a psychology of how consumers will interpret the offer, and that should be taken into account as they design these things. And the last area, I think our field has sort of been not as generous with replication research, and I feel without good replication research, it's impossible to do meta-analysis and really synthesize and give us understanding of what do we know on a broad topic. And you'll see, if you look at any of our top 5-6 journals, we're lucky if there are 1 or 2 meta-analysis published every year. Yet, I feel a field learns by totally taking stock of what we really know and what we don't know, and providing insight on what we should study. And those can only come from meta-analytical papers. So those would be great areas for people to pursue.
Again, based on these insights and your success, what suggestions would you make to new faculty and young marketing scholars about being successful?
Sure, a number of insights I would share. I mean, first, if you are a doctoral student, it's very important that you pick the right team of people to mentor you in your doctoral program, including your chair, and make sure that they are equally committed and passionate about research, because you'll need that for a long time. Second is, make sure you pick the right first school where you see a similar profile of people who, you don't have to have 20 of them in the school, but as long as you can see 2 or 3 who've shared some of your ideas and thoughts, you can form enough of a team to do a lot of interesting work with. And then as the years go by, attend appropriate national and specialty conferences, as that those would be good places for you to build your network and continue to produce better articles. And then the second thing is, I would strongly recommend that students and young faculty never view teaching as a secondary activity, because fundamentally teaching is our primary activity. And if you feel passionate about your teaching, your research will sort of enrich the teaching, and you won't view it as that, geez, I wish I could get back to my research. You'll enjoy the process, you'll get invigorated. Teaching gives you instant feedback of how you're doing. You can feel, wow, that was a great class, versus when you do a research paper, it may be 3 years before you get that acceptance letter. So it's a great place to get positive feedback, and at the same time, it's a really important part of our career.
If you could sum up your contributions in a few statements, what would you say in terms of what you think those might be?
I would say I've published a number of interesting and hopefully thought-provoking papers with a bunch of talented colleagues in the domains of behavioral pricing, retailing, and services. So those are the 3 areas. From a methodological perspective, I'd say most of the papers are rigorous and follow either experimental procedures or survey procedures with structural equation models or meta-analysis. And I feel the papers seem to be well received. People seem to find interesting insights in them, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be doing this for another 20-25 years, so hopefully a lot more interesting insights will be generated over the next few decades.
Well, thanks, Dhruv, but yeah, I know you're going to be involved for a number of years. If you had a goal for what you'd like to accomplish, say in the next 25 years, and you could sum that up in a few sentences, what would be your goal in terms of just beyond just the publications, but your involvement in the marketing discipline?
I envision I will, over the next 20 years, be even more active in leadership roles in organizations. I've done that in the past, and I'll probably start doing it again. I will probably do a little bit more in textbook writing. I'm starting to write a book for the more of the practical press kind of area. It's on retail innovation. So I feel like there are whole different, ultimately I probably will end up in some form of administration, because I feel, you know, if you want things done, you sometimes just have to be the one to do it. So I think some of those are areas, but I will constantly work on research while mentoring junior faculty. I've been unfortunate to not be at a school with a PhD program at both my institutions, first University of Miami and now Babson College. So I've just always worked with younger folks at different places who approach me through different means and try and mentor some of them through their careers, and that's been a rewarding process, and I hope to continue that over the next 2 decades.
Dhruv, we would like to thank you for joining us today, and we sincerely appreciate all of the insights that you've provided to many people who will be interested in furthering their marketing careers.
Thank you, OC. I appreciate it.